Hey friends, one more exciting conversation. I'm really enjoying myself today. I've got such wonderful people that I'm meeting. This is Sanjay. Sanjay has Eastern Software Systems, which has 250 customers in Africa. He's got more than 100 people posted there, and he's got a big story to talk about in Africa. So without further ado, why don't you tell us what you do and what do you think of Africa as a market, Sanjay?
We are an ERP company, which means that we do work in the enterprise space. We work mostly for the private sector. Mm-hmm. We also do a whole lot of work for the government. Mm-hmm. We provide enterprise-wide applications for them. And why I'm excited about Africa is that it is just the place to be. Mm-hmm. A lot of people talk about this century belonging to India and China. I think, with all modesty, I think after 20 years, people will start saying that the century belongs to Africa.
Okay.
The kind of human potential that exists, the kind of geographical potential that exists, the kind of economic development that is happening in the 56 countries which comprise Africa, it's a great story. Mm-hmm. For Indians, it is wonderful. We have been there for 150 years. Mm-hmm. We may have gone there to do manual labor, but over the years, we have started adding huge amount of intellect to those economies, and I think that is where we want to be for the next several years. Mm-hmm. The economies are booming, the people are wonderful, mm-hmm. the countries are nice. Mm-hmm. It's a great place to work at.
Great place to work. Excellent. So I've heard so much about the 1.2 billion people, $1 trillion economy, 55 countries, out of which 21 countries are 900 million out of the 1.2, whatever, 1 billion and all that.
Sure.
What is it about Africa that's your most, treasured moment? What is the most insightful insight you have about Africa?
That's a tough one. I've been going to Africa and I must have made over 50 trips in the past 10, 12 years.
Okay.
Each country is absolutely unique.
Uh-huh.
And, we make a mistake that we think of Africa as one monolith. It is not. It is like saying that all of Asia is the same. Mm-hmm. It is not, you know that. Even within our neighbors, there are so many cultural, economic, social diversity. Similarly for Africa, it behaves like 56 countries, and therefore my experience in each of these countries has been very unique. Mm-hmm. And I am completely impressed by the openness and the hospitality of the people. Mm-hmm. They are absolutely wonderful to work with, very open, very warm-hearted, and I think great people to know personally as well as professionally. Mm-hmm. So that is what I would say is my biggest takeaway in the past many years that I have been visiting Africa. Mm-hmm. Whether you speak their language or you don't, it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter.
You can still relate to them very warmly.
Okay, but you're obviously a very warm person, I can see that, so perhaps that's helping there as well. What was your breakthrough moment in Africa? What was it? When was it that you said, aha, that's a time I've cracked it?
You know what, that we went there 12, 13 years ago as a lark. Somebody said there is an ERP inquiry. I didn't even understand that how can a country in Africa have an ERP inquiry. I was completely uneducated about Africa and its development at that time. And we went there, and I made that visit myself because I wanted to understand what that huge continent is all about. So I went to one of those countries, and as luck would have, this was Kenya, and as luck would have it, the first two people that we got in touch with both gave us business.
Wow.
And then I said, hey, this appears to be an interesting place where Indian IPR is respected, Indian technology is respected, and the values that you get are very reasonable. I'm not saying that they are great values, they are not, because these are economies that are still developing. But once you, and so that was like our wow moment, where we approached the first few customers, we got business, and we were able to roll out the ERP very successfully.
Okay.
So that became our guiding point, and after that we sort of decided to make success in one country, and then we said that this model works, and we rolled it out over many countries. Now we work in various parts of Africa, North Africa, South Africa, East, West, Central. We have hubs in each of these broad geographies, and we work out of those places.
Excellent. And what about scaling up and delivery challenges? Were there, how would you sort of look at that?
Oh yes, delivery challenges are at both ends. One is the customer who's new to the ERP business. One thing I would like to say is that almost all of Africa is doing leapfrogging in technology. India went through a slow path where everyone said, first I will develop my own application, and then I will try to buy a package because in-house development is cheaper, getting it developed from someone else or buying a package is more expensive, so on. But in that sense, all these countries that we work are very, very clear that they will want to buy the latest as long as it is relevant for their business size, it is suitable for their economic environment, and it makes sense to them financially. So they are doing this leapfrogging, whereas they are not going through the small development, in-house development kind of a routine. They are buying packages and immediately they are starting to benefit from this.
Very cool. Okay.
So having said that, we are very clear that we need to expand, we need to grow further, and some of these economies of Africa are growing at fantastic rates. One is that they have a history which is sort of now becoming very important. Democracy is becoming stable. Investments are pouring in from various UN or various international financing organizations. Large countries like India, China are pouring in money because that is where tomorrow is, as I said a few minutes ago. And all that is leading to huge growth. Oil and gas is being discovered in some countries. All that leading to enormous growth. For example, Ghana, I understand, grows at about 20% per annum.
My goodness.
And that is something which is completely unheard of. I mean, these are largely unsung stories, but that is the reason why
we keep talking about 6% in India.
Exactly. So when you hear of those stories and we are part of those stories, so obviously it is a great inspiration for us to invest our money as well as human capital in those areas and go for a more positive growth path.
Which is a good segue into my next question. China versus India. China has adopted a very different style, state-led, you do this, I'll give you a grant fund. Indians seem to be a little more incoherent about how we are approaching Africa. What do you see as a relative difference between the two giants in Africa? Oh, is that a controversial question? In which case, I want you to answer it even more.
China has its own style of business, and they are doing it extremely well. My learning in life has been that you can't be what somebody else is. You have to be what you are. I try to, if India wants to be like China, we will not succeed. If China wants to be like India, probably they will not succeed. So they have found their strengths, they have found their métier, so to say, they have found their methodology of how to develop and roll out business. India has to find its own way. Copy-paste doesn't work. And I guess, so therefore I'll answer that question in the sense that China is doing great and India can do great, and I don't see any reason why it can't be done, except that it requires a little bit of focus, and we need to realize that all the billions of dollars that Indian government is pumping into Africa, some of that needs to
be a little bit more coherently thought through.
And also structured so that the long-term benefits to us as a country occur. It is not a grant in the sense of a philanthropic grant. It is being done at the government level so that in the next 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, the benefit of those relationships that India is hoping and wanting to develop indeed get developed, and the economic cohesiveness starts benefiting our economy as well.
Very good answer. You also skirted the answer very well. I loved it. So great. Last question. What drives you? What is it about you? You obviously are a warm person. You've got a good ability to connect with people, all that stuff. So what is it about you that drives you?
I love my job. When I come to the office, I'm all motivated. I'm all charged up about the 100 things that I want to achieve. And I think because of that drive that I have and the love that I have for what I do is what drives me, and I'm fortunate enough to have a very supporting family and a wonderful group of colleagues, and that makes my day.
Wonderful. What next for your company? Where are you going next?
We want to continue our focus on Africa very, very clearly. We are also keen that we get some large contracts in Africa, and that is going to be our focus for the next couple of years.
Very cool, and I'm sure you'll accomplish that. You already have. Best of luck, and thank you very much, and congratulations.
Thank you. I enjoyed this discussion.
Cheers.
Thank you. All the best.